Hey everybody, Jenny Fergus here. I am on episode 5 of Beauty in Imperfection, and I'm showing a start to finish process of painting a commissioned watercolor painting of a 100-year-old farmhouse from Virginia. I'm getting close to being through, and for those of you who have been loyal followers and watchers of every stroke, thank you so much. And I did want to say, if you want to go quickly through my painting process, you could always turn the volume down and put it on fast forward and get an idea of how I progress, and then stop, when you want to hear what I have to say about it. So, thanks again for watching, and here we go. I'm trying to get this a little closer for you today. As you can see from the photo here and the painting, I have achieved the shape of the white farmhouse, and basically it is through all the shapes around the farmhouse, and then of course the roof. But since the house is white, and in watercolor, at least traditional watercolor, white is really just unpainted paper, I had to approach this using the shapes around the house to create its shape. Now I'm looking at it further. I want to keep going on the house first thing today, so hopefully as I'm waiting for things to dry on the house, I can move into these outer areas again for the second pass, some dark areas. The next step on this white house will be going on and painting in the window panes and maybe the door. And after all that dries, bone dry, I will go back in and add cast shadows. So, to get started, I like to use artistic license a lot on things like the window panes, and even though they look pretty drab in the photo, I'm going to imagine that they're reflecting the beautiful blues in the sky and maybe some of the lavenders that are in the shadows. So I've got a little cobalt and a little cerulean over here in a mix. And you can see my palette's pretty messy. I'm a fairly messy painter, but I'll clean it up when I need to. I like to keep the colors here that I've been using in case I want to use them again. Okay, now let's look at this. I'm going to start over here so my hand won't be dragging through my paint. Up here I've got double panes. Just going to drop them in like that. Here I've got a larger window with two big panes. Suggestion, not going to get too hung up about this. Here, little panes. I've got some here. And down here now I've got to think about the posts and the rail. So the roof comes out like this. Here's the post. Here's another post. This window is peeking out here. So I'm going to just indicate it like this. Maybe a little bit more here and here. I'll come back for the door. Now, here I might do a couple of, what's in between that fretwork or gingerbread work. Okay, over here on this side, I've got this window, and it's got a bigger pane below, one big pane. Let's see. And I've got one here. I'm thinking about the angle of the house there. And I've got one up here. And one back here. You know, that peek out from the iris there. Okay, now, while that's wet, I'm going to use a little of my permanent rose here. Just a little bit. I'm going to drop some of that in to give some of these window panes a little different character, you know, not have them all just alike. This one, I'm going to suck some of that blue up a little bit because I want to add a little golden color in there. I see a lot of gold, so I'm going to use some of my, I think I'll use Aurelian. That's the one that looks like mustard in the palette, but it's really a beautiful kind of a clear yellow. Give that one a little bit there and there. Maybe a couple up here. And I might actually give that window a little of this pink too. Okay. Another color I often like to drop in, it's a perky up color. It's this cobalt turquoise light. I might give that a little hint of that over here. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Oh, and the door. The door looks dark. Let's see. It looks almost like it's a black, maybe a screen door on top of the door. I'm going to make it fairly dark. You can see in this picture, I can see it a little bit better, so I'm going to take some of that cobalt and some of the cerulean, and I'm going to touch some of the permanent rose and a little bit of my sludge in the edge of the palette here. Kind of make it a darkish, dark grayish purple. It's sort of a neutralized dark purple. Or a grayish purple. Okay, now to think about where that door is. So this is the front of the house. This has gone back to here. Here's the door. So the rail stops about right here. I'm going to come down with it. I'm going to go up this way. There's the rail. And in between the rails, you're going to see some of that door. I'm not getting too hung up now on exactly where it would be or what it would look like, but I'm giving the illusion. You're going to look through the railing up there. I'll get that later. The rest of that was shadows. So there's my door. And I might touch a little of this dark back up in here as these windows are in more shadow later. Okay, now there are a few, well I might, I think I'll add those later. There are a few little, maybe I'll add a couple now, little planters hanging from the porch there. I have to be careful with some of this green, because if you put it on too thickly, later it will lift if you put a shadow over it. Some colors won't lift and other ones sometimes will, but let's see. There are some hanging baskets, so I'm just going to put just a few little dabs right there. And then there's another one here. I think I'm going to, that's the entryway. Let's see. I think that's what I'll do. That looks about right. Maybe there's another one here. Okay, so I've touched that with just a little bit of green. Now, I've got to wait for all that to dry before I go back in with the cast shadows. That will really make the house start to pop and look like it is three-dimensional. So in the meantime, it's time to start looking for places to add some darker paint or add value. Value is the amount of light and dark. So there's some places that I definitely need to work throughout the painting to darken, to give it contrast, to give it depth, to accentuate what I want to accentuate. So over here, I'm getting kind of a darkish puddle of an olivey green. It's a real warm, earthy green, and I'm going to use some of this over on this little smokehouse. Just in some of the places I left white, if I feel like they are really going to be in shadow, I'm going to touch some of these darker spots of green, not covering up everything, but adding another dimension, adding another layer. And I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the photograph. Let's put this one back down. I'm looking for places where I see dark areas or where I know things are turning away from the sun a little bit and would be in shadow. Some of that, especially when you're working from a photograph like this, where the information is definitely not as clear and apparent as if you were working plein air, which I love to do, you have to use your good knowledge of nature and judgment, good artistic judgment, to add these darks in good places for the painting. But I am looking, I know up under like the bushes, or if the light is coming from the left, that means everything kind of cupped up under on the right will have a shadow. So sometimes you won't see any shadows, you know, if you have a photo that was taken on a really flat day, and that's when you have to have trained yourself to think, where would those shadows probably be? And do your best. And again, my pieces are about being paintings as opposed to being exact replications or copies of nature. So I'm trying to use the shadows and the colors I pick to make the painting more beautiful and make the painting more interesting and fun to look at. So at this point in the painting, I usually get pretty free with how I add color and how I add the paint. That's the fun part. Okay, I'm going to get up under here with some kind of a darker blue color just to add another kind of a dimension here. let's see. That's very wet, so I'll probably let that alone for a little while. Let's see, I'm going to get over here, get up under some of these plants. That's cobalt right there. It's a brighter blue. And then your French ultramarine is really intense. I love it. Okay. Add some more of this over here on this other side. Now, this is a lighter edge against a darker shape. Right now I have the values are very close. I'm going to darken these plants right here next to this yard, which is lighter. And I'm going to use some of my trusty cobalt violet. Get it going over here. And some of my hookers, which I'm going to tone down just a bit with some sap. Just a little tone down there. Okay. Let's see here. So I want to get in here and increase the value, darken this area some. And I'm going to get it right up next to the edge where I want the biggest contrast to be. Okay, now I might pull some of that up, change the color just a little bit by adding some of this cobalt violet in there. Okay. Now I might add a little water on top. This part I really like. Now I like that. This is a little flat to me. I'm going to pull some of this back off. Just a little bit. Now as that dries, I might touch something a little brighter into it, like possibly. I'm going to see what happens if I do this. You know, I can always change this. So I'm putting a little cobalt turquoise light in there. See what happens. It's a little much, but I like the idea of it. Let's see. Pull a little of that off. It's kind of pretty. Let's see. Touch a little cobalt in there. A little bit. Okay. Now I like that. I think it's beautiful. It adds color to a place where it's just ordinary. Now I've added this cobalt over here, so let me think, where else can I put this? Now I want I want the viewer to really be looking at this house, and I want it to have life and fun and character, so I'm going to work into some of these trees back behind it a little bit. Okay, now up in here, some really darker areas of foliage, so I might work a little with my tip of my brush to make some calligraphy here of foliage. It's sort of peeking around, and underneath, maybe it's a darker, the tree might be darker. I'm going to put a little bit right here, connect some of the shapes. Let's see, I see some kind of dark places up in here. There are a lot of dark spots. And you have to use your own judgment about when to connect them, when to leave space. What kind of pattern you're making with these darks. Okay. Let's see here. That was in between the tree trunks over there. I'll give those a little bit more emphasis, I think. And then I'm going to connect those maybe with just a little bit under here. Remember, this tree was a different color. And let some of that amalgamate, maybe. Uh-oh. Oh well. Clean that edge just a teeny bit. Okay. I like that. Now, I'm going to lighten some of that as it moves up in here. I'm going to add a little yellow to one of these. Give us a little bit of some shadows up in here, without getting too heavy-handed with it. And maybe use some of that green or yellow-green as I move around a little bit. Maybe touch a little bit of it. Now I might go back in with some water. Now I'm playing with it here. I've got to see what I like that's happened. Do I want to connect that? I think I did. And I actually think I want to connect right here. Okay. Now this probably went underneath here. There's some few dark spots showing through that tree to integrate that color a little bit. There you go. Let's see, maybe a couple more down in there. Okay, let's see. A little bit more blue, possibly, up in here. Okay, now I want to add some of this somewhere up here so it's not isolated. Okay. Alright, I like that. Now, this is a little thick. I want to still see through the paint when it dries, and it will dry lighter, and sometimes you want some really dark spots like that, but I can add those. I can add that later. It doesn't have to be thick this minute. I can add it while it's still wet if it starts to dry too light, or I could add it later after this dries. I'll take a little bit of this back off, just a little bit down in here. And this looks really thick to me. I'm going to take that off. Pull that back. I'm seeing more coming through. That's pretty. Okay, let's see. Okay. Alright, I like that. I've got a variety of greens. I'm sort of accentuating the house, at least on this side, with the use of that foliage. I've left every color I've used peeking through. I've thought about the fact that in some of these places in the flame azalea there will be darkness coming through, whether I see it on the photo or not. At this point I am using my judgment and my knowledge to make decisions, to make the painting better. Now over here, I was thinking about this, I don't know why, in the middle of the night I think. This little spot over here, I left it without any grass. I'm just going to give it a real little touch that I don't mess with. So there we go on that. Maybe I'll give it a tiny bit of darkness right there. Okay. Pull that back up. Okay. There we go. It's going to blend nicely there. And I'm going to use some more of that down here in these shadows when I get ready to do them. Okay, now over here things are setting up pretty well, but I'm going to go into this area behind this red purple shape I made earlier. Give it a little bit more oomph. Let's see, down in here. Okay, I'm going to pull it on up into where it was. Now I like that, but I'm going to add a little warmth over here. I want to add a little of one of my favorite colors, Scarlet Lake. It's an intense color, but it does a lot of really cool things when you drop it in. And it pulls your eye right over here to the front of the house. Give that a little touch, and I'm going to add a little. There's some of that orange in there. That's pretty. Now I want to give these irises just a little bit more detail. Just a teeny bit. I've got to use the really tip of my brush to do this so they're not too glommed up. Okay. Let's give them a little extra darkness around where the petals might be. I'm going to go back over here and do these now. Just a little bit more. And I'm adding different shades and tones of color in here. The Flame Azalea, I'm going to give it one more dollop of level of value. A little bit different color. And again, you know, this is a painting, and you're going to make it look a lot better if you have different values. I would say every painting would have at least maybe 4 or 5 values. I'll tone that down just a smidgen back here. Add some red that neutralizes that green a little bit. And I can have that kind of flowing through back here. I don't want to get too heavy-handed with that. So much of painting is being willing to experiment and, you know, make some mistakes. I mean, you'll never know what something's going to really look like until you give it a try. And that's the fun part. It's an exploration. It's not a paint by number thing where you get directions on exactly what to do. You're in charge, for better or worse. Let's see. Okay, that sort of gave that a tone that down just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to give a few little branches coming up in here. Break some of this shape up just a little bit. Okay. I like that. And that's another place to add a little red up there that may not be a color that you would always think of, but okay, so that part probably is going to be fairly finished over here. I want to get in the little shed, and I'll work on the roof in a little while and on the sides a little bit. Let's see here. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of kind of a darker green up under some of these leaves. And give them a couple of little spikes, those hostas. Give them a little bit more shape. And I think I'll give them, even though they're a lot like the lavender, I'm going to put a little bit over here. Maybe I'm going to put a little bit more here. A little darker. A little more apparent. Okay. That's good. Now, I want to add a little bit more character to these azaleas. I'm going to add some, I think I'm probably going to use this pure permanent rose here. Just a few spots. Okay, now where else can I use some rose? There they are, right there. Maybe I'll just think about that a few minutes. I don't know. Here's some of it. I can kind of almost hide it in there. You won't necessarily know it's there, but it will help harmonize the painting. Just a little bit of it. Okay. I like that. Okay, now let's think about this shape here. It's sort of flat. I'm going to add something to that. Just add a glaze. Okay, let's see. This is some yellow. I'm just touching it in there a little bit. I'm going to put some of that too, right? Kind of just up here, just a little bit. Get some of that off. Drag it through just a teeny bit. I'm going to soak some of that off. Just a suggestion of that yellow up under there. Bring your eye down. Let's see, I'm going to give it also over here. It needs to be really thin here though. Okay. Now, for the house path, or the downtrodden place in the grass, I guess we could say, I'm just going to suggest underneath these steps, kind of out here, and kind of goes, there we go. And maybe I'll add just a teeny bit of this red right at the front, because that's where you want your eye to go. All right. Let's see. Okay, now I'll let that alone. All right, now I'm going to take some of this really dark, murky, brownish, greenish, gray, dirty color. Let's see. I'm going to touch right up under here. Maybe it's going to be dark enough to blend a little bit. Okay. And let's see. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to get up here on the edge of the yard. Now, let's see, I want to use a brighter color here to kind of, not too much yellow there. This is French ultramarine with this green, and add a little hookers here. Okay, now while this is still wet, I'm just a thin application of this. Oh, there's a little red on my brush. That was a happy accident. Okay. Okay. While that's still wet, I'm going to add just a teeny bit of that turquoise there. That's a little more than a teeny bit. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Let's see. Now I'm also going to put that over here a little bit, and also, let's see, there's some shadows right up under all this stuff, kind of like that. Okay. Okay. I gotta trust myself at some point here. Little red, and I've also got to get the shadows of those steps in there. And again, I'm going to be suggesting. This is not... Okay, let's see. Just a suggestion of the steps. There they go. Now, this little roof over here. The front of that barn is really dark, actually. I'm going to make that extra dark purple with a little bit of Quin Gold thrown in to neutralize it. This little barn, it's very dark up under here. All right, now the barn, which we barely got in here, I'm going to use some of the same color to indicate this place in the barn that's old and coming apart, I suppose. And then this roof. And then I'm going to use my smaller, let's see, where's that smaller brush? Change up the color just a smidge. And let's draw some of these. There has a line here, they're boards. And this was a pretty steep pitch. Okay, so there's the little barn. That's probably all I'm going to do to that. I'm going to give this little roof a few little marks. Maybe a little mark there. Not too much. So that's looking good over there. Now this roof, let's go back over here to this smokehouse. Where is it? There he is. All right, now, that one's got a little bit more orange in it, so I'm going to use some of this gold, Quin Gold, a little of my cad orange, some warm color, and I'm going to use a little bit of that to indicate some of the boards here on the front of the barn and up underneath some of this, you know, the shadow. That's about it. Now on the roof, it does have very, very faint, like a tin roof, I think. So I'm going to give it a few little marks to indicate that. Okay, let's see. There's a ridge, slight ridge. And then there are a few places where I'll add a few thicker places. Okay, I like that. Now, let's see. I think I'm going to add just a little bit of a deeper yellowish green. Just touch this while it's wet. Let's see, right here. Okay, I like that. Now, back up in here with these trees. Here's that photo with all the trees behind the house. They're very dark. I'm going to get back into that real deep color I had. I think I had some French ultramarine, some of this green. I'll just drag down here. A little bit more blue in there. And maybe a little bit more of my hookers. Perk it back up a little bit. So there's a nice dark green. And because I want to continue some of this pattern over here on the other side of the house, to help define this side of the house. So I'm just going to get over here and do kind of the side of some of these trees. That one I might do more. Indicate that and indicate the side of this. Remember, the light's coming from the left. Okay. Now I'm going to touch some of this pretty cobalt turquoise light in there a little bit though. Get back up here and do a few little dots up here. I'm not thinking about it too hard. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry and let it be. Alright, now there's also a line of dark foliage peeking up, which I indicated with the shape I left. So I'm going to do that. Let's see, it kind of comes down. Some more over here. Okay, and up underneath those trees out in the field, there's some shadows cast. I'll just use those to show the contours of this land. And this is going down like this. Okay. Okay, I like that. I'm going to use just a touch of this purple that I had earlier. See if I can get it back. And I'm going to touch it out here underneath these trees. Ground them a little bit. Bring a little of that red color, that warmth out here. You don't even know you're doing it. Okay, I'm going to get up under the edge of that house. Alright, okay, I'm going to leave that alone. I really like the way that's looking. Okay, now, everything is very wet, and the next steps on this house, I have to have all the windows dry, because I'm going to go back in, and with shadow, I'm going to carve in all up under the porch and in any side of the house facing away from the light, and carve in to create the illusion of a three-dimensional house. After I've done that, I'll go back in and get my sky in place, and I may add a few more touches. But right now, that's it for now. One more pass should do it. But for right now, I've got to let it dry. So, thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.